Dominique Bernard, 57 years of age, a French literature teacher, was tragically murdered, stabbed in the throat and chest multiple times at the school that he worked at, Gambetta High School, in a town called Arras in France. This happened 11 a.m., I believe, on Friday. The 20-year-old stabber, Mohamed Mogukov, a Chechen refugee, was arrested at the scene. We're not provided any significant details in regards to the arrest, but we do see a picture of the arrest within the video, and we also see footage of the attack. So this scumbag, Mohamed Mogukov, 20 years of age, went to the school, Gambetta High School in Arras, armed with 2 knives. He was quickly approached by, perhaps surrounded by, multiple staff members, all of which were trying to apprehend this psychopath, Mohamed Mogukov, who had 2 knives. And in that process, tragically, Dominique Bernard, a father of 3 girls, married to an English teacher who also works at the same school, was stabbed multiple times again in the throat and chest, and he died, I believe, at the scene. Of course, full condolences to all family, friends, colleagues, students, all those touched by the tragic murder of Dominique Bernard. The scumbag stabber Mohamed Mogukov also attacked and stabbed 2 other adult staff members, one of which is in critical condition. Let's hope and pray that they're able to make full recoveries and do not sustain lifelong injuries. Thoughts and prayers to their family and friends. We're also told that a cleaner was hurt, but we believe the cleaner was not hurt seriously, and thankfully no pupils were hurt. We're told a little bit about the scumbag stabber again, a 20-year-old Chechen refugee, his name Mohamed Mogukov. He was an ex-student at this same school, Gambetta High School in Arras. He went there, he studied there. We have a picture of him being arrested, and we're also told that the French intelligence agency was very much aware of Mohamed Mogukov. He was under digital and physical surveillance due to the intelligence agency's belief that he had been radicalized and that he was an ISIS sympathizer. So he was under surveillance by the intelligence agency. So I'm going to comment on that very briefly. I would say that the intelligence agencies were correct in surveilling this scumbag, but it is unfortunate that even though there were fears of what this scumbag might do, authorities weren't in a position to take too much action. They weren't able to prevent this incident. Having said that, we are told that another attempted terrorist attack was thwarted by intelligence agencies very, very recently. We're not provided with too many details in regards to that thwarted attempted terrorist attack, other than we're told that a man with a prohibited weapon was arrested. But in this case, not only was Mohamed Mogukov arrested at the scene, but several of his family members were also arrested. That includes his brother. His brother was also known to intelligence agencies. I believe the brother was also under surveillance. I might have that part wrong, but certainly the brother was also believed to have been radicalized and an ISIS sympathizer. Several family members were arrested, really as a means to aid the investigation. So it seems to me, and I'm guessing, I'm speculating, but it seems to me that perhaps French authorities didn't really have a great deal of evidence to be able to legitimately arrest the family members concerned. Perhaps a few civil rights were being trampled on, and if that's the case, I would say so be it. If that's the case, I would say you can't make an omelette without cracking a few eggs, and I feel that it's perfectly reasonable for authorities, in this case the French authorities, the French intelligence agency, or really any other government, to be a little bit heavy-fisted, a little bit heavy-handed rather, at certain times. So if they feel that there is a risk that other family members might also be planning attacks, might have been involved in one way or another, might have aided and abetted Mohamed Mogukov in one way or another, then I feel that it's reasonable and a good move for the authorities to take action, even when there may not be a great deal of evidence to legally justify such action. I think it's better to be safe than sorry. That's my take on things, even if at the risk of hurting a few feelings. Now, obviously in France, this is a heavily publicized tragedy, and it is also a politicized tragedy. The Interior Minister has linked this tragedy to what's going on in the Middle East, in Palestine. So the Interior Minister has reminded us that the Palestinian political group Hamas has called on Muslims to demonstrate a day of jihad. The article that I've read through here, which is a Daily Mail article, describes Hamas as being a terrorist group, but I'm not going to state that myself because I feel that that's a controversial statement to make. Some people will agree with that classification of Hamas being a terrorist group. Other people will strongly disagree with that. And I don't have enough knowledge to confidently come up with my own conclusion in that regard. So I've got a bit of an awareness of what's going on in the Middle East, but not an in-depth understanding. So I feel that it would be a little bit unfair for me to make some kind of declaration in regards to whether or not Hamas is a terrorist group. So I'm not going to dive into that mess, as it it were. But having said that, I do feel that it's fair that this tragedy is being linked to Islam. I do feel it's fair. The reason why I say that is because witnesses have claimed that they heard the attacker Mohammed Mokukov shout Allah Akbar throughout the attack. So to me, if that is true and accurate, which I presume it is, shouting Allah Akbar is a clear statement connecting the attack to his religious beliefs, his Islamist beliefs, likely spurned, given the timing, likely spurned by what's happening in Palestine, perhaps linked to Hamas's call for a day of jihad. So I do feel it is fair to link this, to connect this, to suspect this as being an Islamist terrorist attack, a domestic terrorist attack. The article reminds us of multiple Islamist attacks which have occurred in France over the last several years, all of which are terrible and heinous. I'm not going to cover them myself, but the details are within the Daily Mail article that you'll see on the screen. And again, I feel that it is reasonable and fair for the French Interior Minister and even the French President Emmanuel Macron to discuss publicly these topics, to link this tragedy to Islamist terror. If there is good reason to believe that is the case, then we must, as a society, our leaders, our so-called leaders, must talk about these subjects openly and honestly such that we can understand. So I feel that's appropriate. However, having said that, I'm going to put the handbrake on a little bit. I just need to make it clear that in no way do I feel that all Muslims are going to respond to whatever call for a day of jihad one group or another makes. I have no doubt that Mohammed Mogukov is an Islamist. I've got no doubt that he's a Muslim. I've got no doubt that he believes in Allah and all of this. But at the same time, he's clearly a psychopath. That's how I classify things. He's a psychopath. And we have to remind ourselves in this situation that not all Muslims are psychopaths. A very, very small percentage of them are, likely much the same as with any other race, religion, etc., etc. So is this related to Islam? Yeah, that's my take on it. And if you strongly disagree, please do so in the comment section. By the way, I'm not trying to be offensive in the least. In fact, I'm trying to not be offensive. I'm trying to cover this topic with the so-called knowledge that I have in a very fair and balanced way. That's what I'm trying to do. And if you agree or disagree that I've done that, then, let me know. That's pretty much all the information that we have at this point. It is an absolute tragedy. Again, full condolences to all family, friends, school workers, co-workers, students at Gambetta High School in Arras. A father of 3 had his life taken away from him needlessly. We see part of the attack on video. Multiple staff members tried to intervene. 2 more were also stabbed, one of which is in critical condition. Let's hope and pray that they are able to make a full recovery. It's a terrible, terrible situation, and one that I think we all hope doesn't occur again. Dominique Bernard was a complete innocent, going to work, teaching students at the high school, a father to 3, a husband, needlessly, senselessly murdered. In the name of Islam, I think it's fair to say, I don't say that to be offensive in any way, but seemingly in the name of Islam, the stabber was shouting Allah Akbar. But I have to remind ourselves that that stabber, Mohammed Mokukov, was no doubt an absolute psychopath, or rather is no doubt an absolute psychopath. He was arrested at the scene, I believe. We're not told the nature of the arrest. We're not told the nature of any charges that have been laid against him, but I would hope and expect that he's incarcerated for the rest of his life. If not given the death penalty, I don't think France has the death penalty. I've not researched that, but justice does need to be served. Violence begets violence. I'm going to wrap things up at this point. I'm not sure if I've rambled a little bit too much. Perhaps I have, but certainly I've covered this as much as is necessary, so I'll wrap things up. If you appreciate the coverage, please do like, comment, subscribe, share the video as you see fit. Consider joining my memberships if you're in a position to. Drop a super thanks if you feel it appropriate, and it's fine if you're not able to do any of those things. I'll thank you for your time. Take care.